Well, good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program tonight, Siddaramaiah will be the next Chief Minister of Karnataka. DK Shivakumar is deputy. The Congress has announced this, ending 5 days of suspense after the party's emphatic election win. They'll take oath on Saturday. The decision was announced after days of internal wrangling, with both contenders pushing for the top job. Congress spokesperson Randeep Singh Surjewala dodged a question on whether the 5-year term will be split among them, saying power sharing means sharing power with the people of Karnataka and nothing else. That'll be our top debate. Both leaders now in Raj Bhavan, and it's all happening now as the problems, if you can use that word, which seem to have emerged in the last couple of days, have been smoothed out. Also on the show, from the 1st of July, credit card spends towards international merchants will attract a 20% tax collected at source, according to a government notification. International payments made through credit cards will be covered under the existing liberalized remittance scheme. This means that such payments will be counted within the $250,000 foreign spending limit for resident Indians. Be that as it may, the larger issue is, if you use your credit card and you are out of this country, who's going to impact? Most likely high-value customers, though there is a sense that even those who spend their credit cards for small transactions will be taxed at source. There is a possibility of actually declaring this and getting a rebate in your tax which you file at the end of the year, but it is deeply problematic. The government certainly doesn't think so. But earlier on today, my colleague Sunil Prabhu spoke to DK Shivakumar, who is now accepted to be the Deputy Chief Minister for the moment. It does appear that there's going to be a power sharing arrangement, the details of which we do not know. Here's what he told my colleague Sunil Prabhu.
I'm joined by Mr. DK Shivakumar, the man of the moment. Sir, first of all, many congratulations. What made you finally break the ice?
See, it is. We believe in our party system. We all are part of the family. We have assured the people of Karnataka. Personal interest is next. Party interest is first. That is what my commitment is. That is how we have to work.
You finally agreed to the Congress president's decision. It must have been very difficult for you because you've toiled, worked. I've seen you in the state of Karnataka from the time when the Congress was decimated to bring it together. You know, after working hard, you always want that gain, and that is why you were extremely determined for that top post. How did you finally concede to this?
See, ultimately, for various reasons. Suppose you think that we have done not won the election. What would have been the position? So now we have won. We have to get the fruit out of it. So to get the fruit, it is not me alone. Lakhs and lakhs of workers have done their best, suffered, worked hard. So we'll have to look at their end also.
The role of the Gandhis, many people have been asking you about that. You have been extremely loyal, and I remember asking you in Bangalore before you came here, you said that you will be a loyalist, you're not a rebel and you're not a blackmailer. You've stuck to your word. How did you finally, come out and you said, humanity reward will finally happen. It's not easy to give up the chief ministership. How did you do that?
See, once when we agree that we will leave it to the High Command, we made a one-line resolution that we will make it to the High Command. We will have to accept that. It is a verdict. A lot of us will be arguing in the court. Ultimately, what judge said has to be accepted. Like that, the Congress president, we all 135 members, all of them joined and said that we will leave it to the High Command. And it was a High Command decision, that's all.
Did Sonia Gandhi speak to you? Were you able, because you have always, said that she's like a mother, the party is like a mother. Did her intervention help in any way?
I don't want to bring Mrs. Gandhi or Gandhi family. I just met Rahulji. I met Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge. I met my ACC office bearers. That's it.
In terms of power sharing, sir, now that we all know that both Mr. Siddaramaiah and you worked together in the campaign, but you all have had your differences. When you took over the party was completely down and out. How are you going to work together and allow this power sharing that takes place?
See, why are you just looking at, still you need, the work has to start, it has to start, at least you need about a week or something to start. Let it start. Let the process go on.
Well, joining us now, my colleague Pratibha. She's outside Raj Bhavan. That's where all the action presently is, with Mr. Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar both having gone to meet the governor. So it's a done deal now. They are presenting their credentials, as it were. So it's just a formality. It's Saturday, 12 p.m. or 12:30 is when they get sworn in, right?
That's right, yes. We know for sure that the swearing-in ceremony this time would take place on May 20th because yesterday there were arrangements that were made at the Kantirwa Stadium, and suddenly the operations were stalled, and there was no green signal from Delhi until talks were reasoned out or smoothened out between the two sparring leaders, DK Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah. But today, since everything has been finalized after a lot of deliberations done by the senior leaders of the Congress, today we see a show of unity between the two leaders. However, we'll have to wait and see how the nitty-gritties would be worked out, how the two of them would function as a government, whether there would be smooth governance or not going forward is still remains a big question mark at this point in time.
All right. Thanks very much, Pratibha, for joining us with those details. Well, let me try and get a couple of more answers. Joining me at this stage, Dinesh Gundu Rao is the winner of the Congress candidate from the Gandhinagar, Karnataka constituency. He's the AICC in charge of Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Goa. Mr. Dinesh Gundu Rao, what is the seat share? What is the arrangement between the two of them, the power sharing arrangement?
See, our AICC General Secretary Organization Venugopalji very clearly said it's a power sharing not between two people. It's a power sharing amongst all the people of Karnataka and amongst all the leaders of the Congress in Karnataka, because everybody has contributed, everybody has worked hard under the leadership of Mr. Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar. So it's not just two individuals, it's the entire party. And there are many, many people who have worked and who have contributed. And ultimately, we need to see that whatever that the power that we've got will help the people of Karnataka and develop the state of Karnataka.
So what, 2.5 years each?
No, there's no such agreement or any such thing. I think both will work together and both will be together. And I think along with them, there'll be many, many other leaders. And under the direction of the AICC, many decisions will be taken. And I think basically we need there's a show of unity, and we need to deliver on many of our promises and give a good administration. And the state of Karnataka is in shambles. The previous BJP government has really shattered the administrative setup in the state.
But Mr. Rao,
so there's a lot of work to be done.
Mr. Siddaramaiah for 5 years?
Those are the challenges.
Can we expect Mr. Siddaramaiah being Chief Minister for 5 years?
See, now he is the Chief Minister of the state, and there is no reason for us to say or assume any such thing as a term or a number of years. He is the Chief Minister, and the Deputy Chief Minister is Mr. DK Shivakumar, and there will be many, many ministers, and of course, a lot of work has to be done. So I would not want to get into this debate at all.
No, but you must, Mr. Rao, because that's what we are all asking. But my question is this. When and who broke the ice with DK Shivakumar? Because let's face it, till yesterday at some stage, he wasn't very happy. I mean, he wanted to be Chief Minister, that's a known fact. So when did that thaw take place?
I would not want to get into the exact detail or exact moment when it happened. He put his claim, Mr. Siddaramaiah had his claim, the AICC observers had come, they had taken opinion of all the MLAs, so they knew what was the ground reality. And based on the ground reality, this decision has been made. So I think whatever may have been each one's claim or each one's assertion, ultimately like what Mr. DK Shivakumar said, each one put their case in front of the High Command, and the High Command has taken a decision, and now they're bound by it. So I think it's a matter of just four or 5 days, and which was taken to come to this decision. And I think finally it's been amicably resolved, and I do not see any major problem in the future.
Be that as it may, you aren't going to share any details on whether Sonia Gandhi was actually involved or not. Was she in actually breaking through and
I think I see
Shivakumar to change his mind?
See, of course, I think everybody would have been in the loop. Sonia ji, Rahul ji, Priyanka ji, all would have been in the loop. But our All India President Kharge ji was there, and Mr. Venugopal and Mr. Surjewala. So, who at what point of time, I think is it's a matter for discussion. But I think ultimately everybody would have been in the loop, and this decision would have been taken with everyone's knowledge. And who interfered at what time, I don't think wouldn't want to get into that, because I do not know the exact details.
I was told that Mr. Kharge worked through the night, and whatever happened took place very late. Am I, in the early hours of the morning? Am I right or wrong?
See, Kharge ji is from Karnataka. He knows each and everything about Karnataka. He knows who's who and what is what. So I think that really helped us a lot, because him being the AICC president, I think nobody could, say anything to him and get away with it. So his presence also has mattered a lot, and his interference, I think, ultimately has led to this amicable settlement. And it's not, I think each one had a rightful claim, but ultimately, based on the ground realities, based on the opinion of the MLAs, based on the High Command assessment, this decision has been made.
One more question. There has been a rumor throughout the day, and just tell us whether it's true or not, that as far as a potential change of Chief Minister 2.5 years down the road, or whenever down the road, as part of a potential power sharing arrangement, that would be decided on the performance of the Congress party in the general elections. Is that something that you've heard?
I think this is all just hearsay. We have trust in our leaders, and we need to deliver on many fronts. And I think a good ministerial formation with good people, becoming ministers is important. And I think delivering on our promises is important. Results follow based upon our performance. Of course, if you are performing well, then we get the good results. If you don't perform well, we will have to face the consequences. So we are all very much aware of that. So I think everybody will work hard, will work together, and I think Karnataka should become really a showcase for what Congress can do, and how we can bring about development, social justice, harmony, all those things that that a state needs. That should be delivered, and I think we will work very hard towards achieving that. And that should become probably something for us to tell the whole country.
All right. Well, Mr. Rao, you have been perfectly diplomatic in this answer, not offering us the one question that we wanted an answer to, but that is entirely your prerogative. And good luck, with the government. I think this is all irrelevant. Ultimately, it's just what people want, as you said. Governance on the ground, that's all that matters. But you will accept, sir, that, people have a right to be curious as well. But thanks.
Yes, Vishnu.
We'll leave it over there. Yes. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We're also joined now by Veerappa Moily, the senior Congress leader, Mohan Krishna, the BJP spokesperson, Manisha Priyam, and my former, and I consider her my present colleague, Maya Sharma as well. Manisha, let me come to you first. Is there any clarity at all on this power sharing arrangement, 2.5 years, or because Dinesh Gundu Rao just told me that he doesn't have any details of any power sharing arrangement, but he wasn't directly ruling out anything.
So there may have been, one doesn't clearly know. Obviously, I have no idea. But let me tell you, at this point of time, the nature of the Karnataka mandate has been such that it's being discussed all over the place. It's being discussed on the ground. And I think the nature of the mandate humbles all the claimants to power, whoever they may be. And of course, Mr. D.K. Shivakumar is placed at number 2. There might be others, including the ones that you've just interviewed, who might have considered them equal to be contenders. It is important to see that political parties have a tough task while they have to groom and hone leaders who will become future aspirants. They have to manage these aspirations. At this point of time, the Congress party seems to have done that very well. The statements that are coming out from D.K. Shivakumar, having conceded his claim to the Chief Minister's post, and perhaps rightly so, are very graceful comments and do not talk about the fact that, remember, if there's a power sharing arrangement, he would have been the one who should have been talking about it. But he's talking about the fact that I do not want to talk about it. If you ask him about his meetings with Mrs. Gandhi, he says, no, please leave that aside. All I want to tell you is I met my AICC president and I have met other functionaries of the All India Congress Committee. He's talking about the party. He's talking about rejuvenating the party. So I do think that placing Mr. D.K. Shivakumar at number 2 will mean that the party will have to keep performing electorally as well. Remember, Mr. Siddaramaiah has had a full 5-year term as Chief Minister. His term was full of the developmental schemes that we see today as important in bringing back Chief Ministers to power. But that had left him a little shy of power. He had gone hammer and tongs against the RSS then. But Siddaramaiah had been unable to bring the Congress to power all on his own.
Sure.
This victory must be telling both the number 1 and number 2 that the Congress today wins because it's a double engine in Mysuru and it's not a one-horse race in the chehra of a chief minister. Okay. So I think that political opinion will humble both the contenders and many other contenders who must look for future opportunities to jostle their way to the top of a state-level leadership. The Congress has few of those opportunities, Karnataka promising to be the most important of those opportunities. Sure. Congressman.
Mr. Moily, would you like to tell us about any potential power sharing arrangement?
Of course, I don't know, but we have a power sharing arrangement with the people of Karnataka.
No, sir, that is a very friendly way. That is a very friendly way of deflecting my question, sir. But you are my friend. I think it is. I do believe, sir, and I'm being persistent. But it's an important question. I'll tell you why. Because power sharing arrangements haven't necessarily worked in our country, as you know, in the past. Therefore, if there is one, people would normally want to know what the prospects of something like this would be. That's why I'm asking.
No, if there is one, our ACC spokesperson or the General Secretary in charge would have spoken about it. And if there is anything, Mr. PCC President Shivakumar would have spoken about it, because they are the most competent people. But not for us, because we are not involved in that discussion held for all these 3 days. And ultimately, one thing is very sure, that the Siddaramaiah is a very strong person who can deliver goods. And we have a biggest task. Number 1, implementing all these 5 guarantees is a great arduous task for any chief minister. He has to take the entire team together, and in a collective way, they'll have to put their mind together and implement it.
Right.
People are expecting, because while these packages have been announced, everybody was surprised and shocked. But I think consciously we have taken that decision that we are capable of implementing it.
All right.
Because always Congress did not look back when it comes to the social justice program.
All right.
And the people, because after all, the hunger is first in the agenda of Congress party.
Sure.
That is why we put all these programs together. Moreover, we have a big challenger, like the Prime Minister of the country. They have put their all stakes here, and don't think that they will lie down so silently, but they will always be a challenge to us. I think we have to keep up to combat such challenges with anything which comes there.
Okay.
And Mr. Narendra Modi said that the Karnataka is potential enough to become number 1 in the country in terms of development. And I think he had assessed that, because we have during my regime, thereafter also, we have practically brought Karnataka and its development agenda to number 1. So Karnataka is capable. It was very resourceful.
All right. So Karnataka is capable. I take
quite
that
energetic
point.
And potential enough.
Maya, how do you read the situation right now? It's been an uneasy relationship between DK Shivakumar and Mr. Siddaramaiah. It appears for now he's accepted the number 2 post. But do you see this equation, the working relationship, being smooth going forward?
It's a big challenge for sure. I mean, a lot will really depend on the personality of the 2 men. And while Siddaramaiah is, of course, a leader, he does tend to keep his feelings a little bit more to himself. The younger man, DK Shivakumar, is very out there. You know what he's thinking, you know what he's feeling. And he has also made no secret of his very acceptable ambition to be chief minister. But while he does apparently seem impatient, he does seem determined to get what is due. It's also very much part of his personality, the absolute loyalty that he has to the Congress party. We've seen him in the rain in Mumbai. We've seen him outside resorts, inside resorts, trying to keep the Congress party together, not just in Karnataka, but in other states as well. So that loyalty is very likely to help him kind of keep things together. Even the few days delay we saw here when he delayed going to Delhi, or when he delayed actually indicating that he has accepted the terms, it was a little unusual. He was, of course, driving a bargain, but ultimately he did fall in line, or he did agree to whatever terms were offered to him.
Sure.
Because his loyalty to the party and to the family, the Gandhi family, of course, has really been unquestioned for several years now. And I think that may be the factor which actually keeps it going over the next 5 years.
Mohan Krishna, the BJP has been fairly critical about the process over the last couple of days, that they can't figure out who their top leader is going to be. But now they appear to have got a working relationship going. Do you believe that there will be a stable government in Karnataka?
Very good evening. I patiently heard Dinesh Gunturao, Mr. Veerapalli, Manisha, and a blessed lady today, Maya, today, who is in Bangalore. She will be getting a free ride in buses. Free ride in buses as promised by the Congress. Isn't it, Maya? Yes.
That is correct, yes.
This is the guarantee. Congress had given 5 guarantees. The 6th guarantee was not given to the people. That was of the Chief Minister. Today, after 5 days of deliberations and confrontations and consultations, today they were able to come to a conclusion. And today, we are very happy. Karnataka is blessed today that we are getting a new Chief Minister to give 5 guarantees to the people of Karnataka. I would like to tell you one point today. All these years, India, we talked about development of the country. We never talked about the freebies. We talked about the social justice, social welfare schemes, and everything. Yes, this is a new era, probably. We have also seen in Delhi how it has happened, how things are rolling back. And we have seen in Punjab how it is happening. And as promised by the Congress, in Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, and other places, we have seen how it has happened.
Yes.
We want to see that the smooth running of the government. We are here to cooperate for the Congress party to run the smoothly. Very importantly, harmony, they are talking. What is
That's
the problem
fantastic.
in Karnataka in last 5? No, they are talking of harmony. They want to bring harmony in Karnataka.
No, but are you not talking about harmony as well, sir?
No, that's what I am telling. Where was the problem? Where was the problem of harmony? Can anybody explain? Can anybody explain? It is their assumption, presumption, which has made, and they are also percolating that down to the people, saying that harmony. There is no problem of harmony. Everybody is fine.
All right.
Everybody is fine.
So we'll leave that debate. We'll leave
point and I will give it to you.
We'll leave
All
that
these days-
the part of the harmony
these days,
for
Congress
perhaps another
people-
debate. But I think
Congress-
it's very welcome, Mohanji, that the BJP wants to work together. They want to ensure that governance takes place. And opposition has to be one that is conducive to the aspirations of the people, while being a viable opposition to keep the government on its toes. And one would hope that the BJP is exactly that in Karnataka. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us. We're going to take a short break at this stage. Up after that, a couple of news stories that we are looking at very closely. Firstly, if you are worried about how much you're going to be charged on your credit card for transactions if you travel abroad, whether it's going to be so substantial that you might need to revisit your travel plans, we're going to give you a big explainer. But we will also be doing a special feature on Ukraine with stunning new satellite imagery which has emerged, which actually goes to show what the extent of the damage on the city of Bakhmut, where the war is being fought right now, what the extent of the damage actually is. It will be a stunner. Stay tuned for that, coming up next. Welcome back. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. In case you've been following the conflict in Ukraine, then you would have heard of the city of Bakhmut. It's located to the east of the country and it's seen some of the most intensive fighting since the Second World War. It's a fight where inch by inch the forces of Russia and Ukraine continue to clash. The Ukraine, which has managed to get into this area, wants to hold their ground, and it is actually in this area of the Bakhmut city where the Russians have been putting in their all to try and get the entire city or whatever remains of it under their control. This is where Russia has made its stance or its stand. Be that as it may, the action of the Ukrainians to repel the Russian forces coming in to capture Bakhmut has been significant, but the city itself, which is a stunningly beautiful city, it was in the past with a real history, has been completely obliterated. What we'll now show you are satellite images from Maxar, and these images are stunning, they are poignant, but they are shocking as well. We'll start and stay with this image for a moment. This is of the city of Bakhmut on the 8th of May 2022. You can see the green fields all around the city. It's a small city, but there are large boulevards, green-lined boulevards, residential areas, a commercial area. Let's just zoom into what this city was last year. And let's zoom into this particular area. Over here in this image, you can actually see a school and you can see residential areas as well. But let's take a look at what this has become on the 15th of May, in other words, 3 days back this year. As you can see, that entire area has been obliterated. What was an area with people used to stay, schools over there, has been obliterated to just that very same area. Let's move to the next set of images. As we zoom out, we will now show you Bakhmut, and all the areas that you see over there which are brown have been completely destroyed. Not just on the left of the screen, but on the right of the screen as well. Residential homes have been completely obliterated, and it's in these ruins, in this rubble, that soldiers of either side are fighting. Let's go to another area from last year, the 8th of May 2022, and if we zoom out of this area, you're going to be able to see in the next frame right over here this particular area. We'd like to focus on this, and now that entire area has been entirely destroyed. Another school and apartments destroyed. Again, let's just go slowly through these changes. If we go to the next frame, and we can actually show you the red structure over there is a movie hall. It's in fact a theater in the heart of Bakhmut, and the building on the bottom right hand side is a large shop. This was on the 8th of May, cars parked, people on the roads. This is now what this particular area in Bakhmut has become. The theater and the store have been completely destroyed. We can now focus on another part of Bakhmut, another image from the 8th of May 2022. As we zoom out over here, we will see residential areas, once again apartment complexes, and now we can give you the image of 3 days back. As you can see, destroyed, a part of a building on the top right hand side, completely smoldering even now. And the final set of images that we will actually bring you over here is a part of the university in Bakhmut. Let's zoom out. This is what that particular area was. This was a residential area, also a university and a college setup, and that is what it's become now. A radio tower destroyed and a university complex destroyed as well. Finally, let's just zoom out to the next frame as we come out, zoom in rather, from that building, which is what a part of that university complex was. If we move to the next set of images, then you can actually see as we zoom out what Bakhmut is today. So we leave you with these images, and that is the location of Bakhmut on the east of Ukraine. It is truly staggering, the battle, the war in Ukraine, which is now waged for more than a year. We're going to move on now, and in case you're worried about whether foreign trips are going to cost more, whether there's going to be a new tax on your credit card, how is it going to impact you? There is a new government scheme. How much do you lose? Can you actually get a little bit of a refund when you file your taxes at the end of the year? We're going to have a fantastic discussion with a great panel who are experts. They travel abroad a lot. They are tax experts as well. And they look at the travel industry also very, very closely. But first, this report from my colleague, Priyanshi.
Well, Vishnu, there are several questions that people have over this new tax. So let's understand what has changed and how it impacts you. So with this new tax, essentially, you will have to pay a 20% tax on all international credit card transactions from the 1st of July. Now, this is a tax collected at source. So it means that when you swipe a credit card in a foreign country, a 20% tax will be deducted. Earlier, international credit card transactions were not taxed, but now they will be taxed at source as they now come under the RBI's liberalized remittance scheme, or the LRS. Naturally, this will make foreign trips and shopping via credit cards more expensive. So for example, if you're making a 2 lakh rupee purchase, you will have to pay a tax of 40,000 rupees. The government says that the main impact will only be on investment in assets such as real estate, bonds and stock payments outside India by high net worth people using their credit cards for these transactions, and it will also impact tour and travel packages, making them more expensive. And because these transactions come under LRS now, this also means that any remittance over $250,000 will need an approval from the Reserve Bank of India. Several travel companies and travelers have criticized this move, saying that it will make foreign travel even more expensive, while some welcomed it. India's second largest online travel agency, Ease My Trip, in a statement to NDTV, said that this will make travelers opt for domestic travel instead of international trips. Now, you must have several questions even now. The government has answered FAQs of frequently asked questions. Number one, will this be an added burden, and can the tax credit be claimed? The government has said that this is not a final tax, and a taxpayer can claim credit for this tax payment in the regular income tax return or ITR filing. Experts also say that this tax won't be lost money for those who already pay an income tax, as they can adjust this tax for their tax liability for that year. But those who don't pay an income tax, they won't be able to make a claim, and they will be impacted by this. Now, the second question is, will this make foreign education and medical treatments more expensive? The government says there will be no change in international education and medical expenses. They already have a 5% TCS or tax collected at source above transactions over 7 lakh rupees, and that doesn't change. So essentially, students won't have to pay this tax on their tuition fee payments, but they will have to pay this for, let's say, shopping and food bills that they pay via credit cards while living abroad. Now, another important question: why did the government really raise this tax? The Finance Ministry said that transactions above $250,000 are being made via credit cards without any approval, and they have to have checks on these high-value transactions. It said that debit card transactions already come under these norms, and the move is aimed to remove that differential treatment between debit and credit cards. It also said that disproportionately high payments are being made when compared to disclosed incomes of several individuals, which indicated tax evasion and money laundering. So these are the major reasons for the move. It's essentially imposed to keep a check on high value foreign payments to prevent tax evasion, but it will make foreign travel more expensive for many.
All right, Priyanshi, thanks for making it that much simpler for me to understand this. Thanks very much indeed. Madan Sabnavis, Chief Economist at the Bank of Baroda, joins us. Sunil Badala, Partner and National Head of BFSI Tax at KPMG, also with us. Subhash Garg, the former Finance Secretary. We're also joined by Mohit Kabra, the CFO of MakeMyTrip.com. Mohit, let me come to you first. Do you believe it's going to discourage people from traveling abroad? Mohit, I think you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Like Priyanshi covered it, this is not necessarily going to be an incremental burden. This is more a levy, and the credit will be immediately available from an IT returns filing point of view or in your 26AS. And therefore, this can be adjusted against, tax payments due, or eventually a refund can be claimed if the amount of tax deducted is higher than the tax liability for the SSE. So it's going to be more a cash flow issue, not necessarily an incremental cost. And the other part is, like she called out, the TCS levy, the customers usually have different modes of payment, whether it's a debit card or it's a credit card. Until now, credit card payments were enjoying, the benefit of being kept out of the LRS ambit. And I think government has removed that anomaly so that, across payment modes, the levy is the same. It should not be the case that somebody paying through a debit card undergoes a 20% TCS, but the same person paying through credit cards doesn't see a 20% TCS being collected. So I think that anomaly has been removed, and it will also help provide a level playing field between bookings being made on domestic platforms or through domestic agents versus international agents. So that's probably the other reason that, this was more appropriate to bring in the credit cards on the ambit as well.
So Mohit, you don't expect this to have an impact on people traveling outside? Let me give you a couple of examples on how it might be a problem. Number one, if I am abroad and I need to buy tickets for me and my family, then if I am paying a tax of 40,000 rupees on a 2 lakh rupee payment, then for a family of 4, you end up paying a huge amount, right? So A, it is a cash flow issue. B, if there is somebody who's not in the tax bracket at all, a retired person, maybe not been filing taxes, if they do manage to travel abroad and they use their credit card, then they can't, that money is not refunded to them. So I can think of, a couple of examples on how this might be a real pain.
No, I agree with you that, there's a little bit of a pain because it means incremental kind of, outgo right at the beginning, for the customers. And therefore, what I'm trying to call out more importantly is that, bringing the credit card under the ambit is not necessarily, an incremental burden. Whether the TCS should be at 20% or can it be at a lower percentage, particularly for those who are kind of already PAN card holders, have been filing their returns, that's a different argument altogether. So okay. I completely buy your point on that can the percentage of levy, like say for instance, until now, this levy was at about 5% and with a lot of exemptions, right? And therefore, in many cases, the TCS levy was not happening.
So from 5% to 20% is colossally large.
Exactly.
It's huge.
No, clearly. So therefore, the incremental outgo right upfront is going to increase, and that's probably going to kind of also, get a lot of people to look at possibly domestic holidays rather than international holidays. We have been seeing that trend, over the last, since the introduction of the 5% itself.
Okay, Mohit, just hang on a second. I wanted to go across to my other panelists as well.
Sure.
Sunil Badala, just a question because people are writing in, lots of interest in this. If you use a debit card and you use it abroad, or if you use a Forex card, will you be taxed?
Yeah, I think, debit card is already covered. And of course, even the Forex card, if you are using it, they are all going to be forming part of LRS limit of $250,000, and therefore there will be a TCS. See, we have to understand.
If you're under $250,000 and you're not using your credit card and are using a Forex card or an international debit card abroad, will you be paying 20%?
Yes. So whether you pay debit card, whether you pay through debit card, whether you pay through Forex card, or whether you pay through credit card, all of them will be subject to a TCS of 20%. What I was trying to tell you was that, see, the limit of $250,000 hitherto did not include any amount that you spent through credit card because there was a specific exemption under FEMA, which now has been rectified and which now has been amended, and therefore the spend on credit card will also be within the limit of $250,000. But as far as TCS is concerned, it is directly linked to any remittance or any spend under LRS. And all of these expenses which you do through debit card or Forex card or credit card will be under LRS, and therefore there will be a TCS.
Madan Sabnavis, what happens if you use travelers checks? People have gone off travelers checks after Forex cards emerged, but if you have a traveler's check and you encash it abroad, how are you going to be taxed?
No, in fact, I think we don't really have clarity on that because you're talking
as you can see,
checks.
Madan, I'm looking for ways out of in the eventuality that I travel abroad.
No, I think there's also the case that you can do when you're buying your tickets, you do it through NEFT, in which case you're not in the realm of cards, and therefore you should ideally not be taxed. And as you're talking of traveler's checks, since I'm buying but I think when you're buying traveler's checks, you're buying for, say, $100 or $1,000, in which case there will be a TCS. So I think when you do an NEFT transfer, that could probably be an escape clause which you have here. But I think that bringing it under LRS definitely makes sense. But I think TCS actually, to my mind, is not really a very good idea, because especially if I can claim it, then what is the big idea of having a TCS of 20%, which I'm going to claim after 1 year when I'm filing my returns? If the idea was only to capture all the people who are spending too much, I think you can always get it directly from the banks and the credit card companies. So to my mind, this part is going to be onerous. It may not really cost much, but as you said in the beginning, we will have to put forward a lot more cash to begin with when we are undertaking any of these forex transactions. This is something which could have been avoided. Because
Madan, this is an interesting point. If I wanted to make a purchase and I go through the NEFT process, which is time consuming, then I may not be taxed, right? So if I buy something abroad, I transfer to that person's bank directly, I wouldn't be taxed. Is that what you're saying, at 20%?
Yeah. Exactly. So if you're talking of NEFT, that's not been mentioned, because they're talking only in terms of credit cards coming in the LRS. And as of now, when I went for a travel journey and I made my payment through an NEFT transfer to, say, on Ease My Trip, I would not be paid. There would not be any tax which are charged. I think there could be a clarification by Mr. Kabra on this, that if I'm right on that.
We shouldn't give them any ideas at this stage. They might just tax that as well. Mr. Subhash Garg, how do you see, 20%? On a 2 lakh payment, you're paying 40,000 rupees. That's absolutely huge.
So number one, you're not paying, but what actually this means is that the ease of living, ease of doing traveling, etc., is being sort of so much made more difficult. I don't know why the government has done it. There was no reason. All credit card expenditure was in any case reported earlier. Likewise, all foreign travel was also reported earlier. So putting a 20% tax collection, not a tax, because tax is paid on the income which you earn, not on the expenditure you make. And therefore, putting this 20% and making people take it, refund later on, is whole lot of unnecessary inconvenience to a lot of people. I don't know whether the government will end up getting anything out of it, because in my judgment, everyone would probably reclaim it after going through this hellish process. It seems to be a completely unnecessary and wasteful measure.
Sunil, let me come back to you. A large number of people in this country study abroad, and tuition and etc. may not be covered in the tax. The government has clarified that, but living expenses are substantial, and there are foreign remittances to ensure that students abroad are actually paid, and so the parents or whoever is paying ends up paying 20% for that. So that is a huge outgo of money, because it's not just 20,000 rupees or so. It could be, depending where they live or where they study, a lot more. So the cash out is a lot more.
Yes, so you're right. So as far as education and medical expenses are concerned, obviously the rate is not 20%. There's a threshold of 7 lakh rupees, and also the rate applicable is 5%. Also, they've said that they will come up with a detailed clarification wherein they will actually also articulate as to what are the incidental expenses relating to education and medical, which will be subject to a lower TCS rate. But having said that, you are absolutely right. So, for example, if you have, let's say, you have sent out of pocket remittances to your children, and if that doesn't form part of incidental expenses relating to education, then yes, there is a 20% TCS. What seems to be happening here is that maybe there were few cases which government has come to know, where under the garb of remitting to the children, people have obviously gone overboard, remitted huge amount of funds and created wealth outside of India. by investing or by purchasing property or whatever else. So maybe to actually address some of those actions which very few people would have done, this is a law which is now going to be applicable to all the people, including those who are actually now, who are actually genuinely sending this kind of remittances to their children. So yes, you're right. Unfortunate part is that you are going to pay 20% TCS.
Mr. Garg, how does one reclaim this at the end of the year, the financial year, or when you pay your taxes? You're going to give like paperwork to the government, to the tax department that, here are our bills. I travelled abroad and here are 75 bills. These are all incidental expenses. Now you please give me this money back.
No. That is not very difficult. The process is relatively simpler. Now all your taxes are counted as part of your 26 statement AS, and whatever you are paying gets all included, and therefore that is not a very difficult proposition. It automatically will be part of your tax paid and TDS deducted or TCS deducted, and if your liability which gets counted is smaller, then the refund will automatically come. So that's not a huge problem. The problem is of the cash flows. You would remain out of cash for quite some time, and you would need to get much more amount for remittance and paying to the tax department at the time when you incur the expenditure. So claiming expenditure or extra tax deducted shouldn't be a major problem, except that ease of convenience, as I said, is the problem.
Mr. Garg, it seems that you are abroad. Make sure you come back by the 1st of July. Otherwise, if you use your credit card, God knows how much you'll rack up.
Don't worry about it.
All right.
Okay.
Mohit, any other concerns? The aviation sector is just about coming around in our country. We're doing quite well now, by and large. If travelers are now inconvenienced, isn't that going to have a knock-on effect?
Definitely. See, it's going to have a little bit of an impact, particularly in the initial few months, right? It's going to look a much larger outlay, and therefore the sentiment, particularly on overseas travel, is going to come down. Like I said, it's a given. And the other thing is, I think the government has looked at it from 2 points of views. One, they have been trying to promote, more domestic travel rather than overseas travel. And the second, they've been trying to capture, like was pointed out, those cases where the income disclosed is kind of not in line with the kind of expenses being incurred on overseas travel, right? And therefore, they're trying to kind of capture this. And the third element was, if you see, even currently, there's a 5% levy. It's just that currently on that 5% TCS levy on travel, international travel or overseas travel, credit cards were exempted.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, whenever, customers were booking or making those, overseas bookings, particularly on overseas platforms or directly with the overseas hotels, right? This 5% TCS was not getting levied, while if they were making it on the domestic, with the domestic travel agents, the domestic travel agents were having to kind of pick this 5% additionally, because they would not be allowed to remit it back to the supplier without the 5% TCS being kind of, showcased to the bank, in terms of an virus remittance. So it was creating a non-level playing field. So therefore, the government has done one thing that they've done right is they've brought credit cards in line with the other modes of payment. And therefore, across modes of payment now, the TCS levy will be constant or consistent. And that makes complete sense. We can always argue whether the TCS rate should have been as high as 20% or it could have continued at about 5%, because even at 5%, you get the full information around the nature of expense being incurred. And you don't necessarily need to kind of collect a much larger amount right upfront. So that's probably the only point. And I think the only other point left from a travel industry point of view, or particularly the domestic travel industry point of view, is the mechanics of how this TCS will be collected. I think what the domestic industry is also lobbying is that ideally it is the bank, which is the card issuing bank, whether it is a debit card or a credit card, the customer's card issuing bank should be doing the TCS collection, so that See, because the customer has 3 or 4 ways of making a transaction, right? He could either book it with a domestic agent, or he could book it with an overseas agent, or he can book it directly with the overseas hotel or service provider. What happens is, in the current mechanism or in the current process, when he books it with the domestic guys, the TCS has to be paid right upfront to the domestic platforms because they have to deposit it in turn.
Right.
Whereas when they book it with the overseas guys, the TCS is not levied immediately. So therefore, optically, you see a $100 booking looking like $120 or $105 currently on domestic platforms versus looking like $100 on overseas platforms. So ideally, what the domestic travel industry is kind of requesting is that the bank which has issued the card should centrally kind of deposit or collect TCS across modes of booking, whether it is with domestic agents or with international agents, so that there is no disparity between the platforms.
Between the two.
Therefore, there is
Mohit, we'll leave it over there. I take your point. Lots to discuss over here, but it is an inconvenience. I think that seems to be quite clear, and I think there needs to be many more clarifications from the government on how this is actually going to happen, the process of seeking a refund and who can actually do that, because it is an inconvenience for honest taxpayers to see so much more of their money going for a measure which has been taken to apparently target those who are using the existing system unfairly. We leave it at that. We're out of time on Left, Right and Centre. From all of us here, good night.